5 ways to not forgive someone. There might be more than 5 ways to not forgive someone, but these are 5 ways I've discovered to most assuredly not forgive someone. And they're rather powerful ways to not forgive someone because they all come with an illusion, and the illusion is that it kind of feels like we forgave them. But we didn't, or at least not necessarily. So what are the 5 ways to not forgive someone? One is justify them, especially their behavior. This guy has just had a hard life. There was difficulties in how he grew up in this way and that way and the other way. And so I think I get it. I see why, he would have done what he did or she would have done what she did. So, yeah, that's not forgiving someone. That's just justifying them. And seeking to justify another person is very similar to seeking to justify yourself. In fact, if you use the justification of their behavior to sort of try to see them in a different light or whatever, what you're doing simultaneously is justifying your own behavior for things you've done. You're in essence using them as a vehicle to justify anything you've perpetrated in this life. You're not forgiving them. And it might feel sort of good to have difficult time to figure out a way to make what they did somehow justifiable. You were pissed at them at first, but you've gone through this process of seeing that, under those same kind of circumstances, maybe that's kind of justifiable. It's not forgiving them. Second sort of main way to not forgive someone is to seek to understand them. I know that there's a Coveyism, which is seek to understand rather than being or seeking to be understood. Well, it's great to try to understand someone, but if we're talking about forgiving them, that's not it either. It's very similar to justifying them, but it's getting to know their situation a little bit better, kind of getting to know the surrounding thing. Oh, yeah, okay. I feel like I can kind of understand where they're coming from a little bit better. And I see them more as a human. I forgive them. That's not forgiving them necessarily. And it could be a really amazing way to not forgive them. Third, resolve the situation between you and them. Well, that's contractual and it's conditional. That's not forgiving someone. That's just trying to get yourself satisfied. They may have done something damaging, and now what you're hoping to do is that they'll do something. They'll do something that to come your direction, to maybe make your life easier, or to agree to some stipulation that you have, or to split the difference of this or that or the other, or make it up to you. That's not forgiving someone. They'll make it up to you. They do something, and okay, now I'll be okay with this person, and forgive them for stealing the pig, or whatever it is. That's not resolving a situation. Is making it where your forgiveness is conditional on their subsequent behavior. That's not forgiving them. And oddly enough, it feels a lot like forgiving them. So it's like contributing to the same illusion that justifying them or seeking to understand them bring up. Okay. Being an absolver. This is number 4. Pretending like you are the one that can free them of the results of their misdeeds. That because since they perpetrated on you, or they did something bad towards you, you deciding to absolve them of that. And now you are the you're like the good person in the exchange. And there's almost like a power to it as well. Like I let them know that I forgave them. Oh, great. That's awesome. Not forgiveness necessarily. And it's more of that's more of a helping you have this sense of, I am an absolver. I am a good person based on that I told them they're forgiven. They felt good. I felt good. They feel good. Blah, blah, blah. That's not forgiving them necessarily. And it might be a great contributing factor to you not forgiving them in a fundamental way. Number 5, add them to a positive outcome. I'm stronger for it. I can see that now. I'm kind of grateful that it happened now because, I've gone through this and that and the other, and I'm a stronger person, and I learned lessons, and if they would have never stole my land, I would have never gone through this and then come up to someone who did not. I'm better for it, I'm much smarter in business now than when I got ripped off by that person. Or I'm much more confident now that I overcame the effects of that abuse when I was a kid. Or so you know what? I just forgive the situation. No, that's not forgiving them. That is trying to come up with a reason why that what they did contributed to your positive qualities. Because it's what you did regarding what they did that contributed to your positive qualities, not what they did. Not forgiving. And again, all 5 of these things look like forgiveness. And if you did all 5 of them together, you could walk around thinking, yes. According to the parameters of how I see the world, I let them abide in this place I call forgiveness, not forgiveness. And it's an illusion. I'll say this, it's not forgiveness necessarily, and it could be an illusion to prevent you from actually forgiving them. Now, what is common between all 5 of these things? All 5 of them include them, as if they are participatory in you forgiving them, or they are that without something modified in your perception of them, or modified in their behavior so that you could have a different perception of them, you couldn't do this thing that we sometimes call forgiving them. To forgive someone has nothing to do with them. All of these 5 things have to do with them. Forgiving someone is something that goes on inside of you. And when you make the sort of changes that you need to make as an individual, then what one might call the effects of your anger or pain or hurt toward other human beings begins to shift. When I figure out that my anger against people does not have to do with those people, but it has to do with the state of my heart, now those people begin to look like different people. Letting go is simply letting go. If I hold a rock, I can keep a hold of that rock and go, this rock is hard. It's had a hard life. It itself is hard. I can see that this rock has little divots in it, and I can see that this rock may have landed on hard things, and yeah, okay. Or I've decided that if this rock will turn this direction, this flattish side up, I like it a little bit better. Or rock, I absolve you of having a weight in my hands. Or, I'm stronger for holding this rock. Thank you, rock. None of that is dropping the rock. Dropping the rock has nothing to do with the rock. Doesn't need to be assisted by the rock. Some people will put a rock in a sling and whirl it around and chuck it away. And that's great too. The sling was probably helpful in that process. And they just threw the rock. They let go of the rock. That's different than those other 5 things. And when I see life differently, all rocks, then it sort of does cross my mind. Well, rocks do have a hard life. I understand about igneous, and I understand about these different kinds of sedimentary rocks. I learned more about it. I've negotiated with rocks, and some have been pretty darn cooperative. They get right into my concrete mix without too much fuss. I'm when I hit my head on rocks, I get it. I think I need to probably do something different with how I move my head around. I don't need to blame the rocks for that. I absolve them, in other words. And because rocks exist, I have learned how to negotiate walking better. All of those 5 things could be a result of forgiving someone. But they're not forgiving. We may never, ever, ever be able to justify enough, understand enough, resolve enough, absolve enough, and see tertiary positive outcomes enough for that to equal us being a different person. And then a reality that we used to experience, including all of their beings in life with us, is one wherein we walk around not necessarily ever needing to forgive, because the first step of taking offense we never took. So we don't have to forgive anything. Some people call that walking peacefully. Or you could also call it walking without offense. Thanks.